time frame to support those projects. A lot of others are supporting innovative companies and doing incredible work, so we have a whole ecosystem of innovation. When we think about emissions, I think it's always important to go back and think about each of these five sectors. You know, some of them get a lot of attention, electricity and transport, but the other three less so. To meet a goal of zero, you have to succeed in every single one of these sectors. And in fact, the industrial sector's probably been the one that's the most challenging. The good news is that we see incredible innovation progress in every one of these areas. In manufacturing, we are well on the way to making steel with either electricity or hydrogen instead of coal. Buildings are getting greener, partly thanks to a company that's developed a window that's many times more efficient than what's been used in the past. In transportation, we're taking great leaps forward. For example, we had a car that went over 600 miles on a single charge using an innovative new battery. In agriculture, we have a company that's using microbes to provide fertilizer, which avoids almost all of the greenhouse gas emissions. Earlier this year, I had a chance to visit Wyoming, Kemmerer, Wyoming, where there'll be a fourth-generation nuclear plant built by TerraPower. And the whole reason I'm involved in that is the possibility that that can scale up and make a meaningful contribution to baseload electricity. So a lot of progress in all these different areas. Of course, just getting things to work at the lab level is probably the easiest part. We won't be able to drive this without a lot of key elements. For example, connecting all this energy to the grid. For example, doing modeling to understand what it takes to keep the high reliability. We need new things. Carbon capture is still very expensive. Clean hydrogen also very expensive, and so we need to advance. And in each cases, there are many companies and many different approaches that will compete to see which is the most effective. We need all these sectors, philanthropy, governments, and business, to make big bets. And it was, great to hear from the panel how each of those companies is playing their part. Since Paris, I've put over $2 billion into clean energy, and that's a number I expect will double in the coming years. But we need a lot more, particularly in those pilot plants, that early stage. When you get to late stages, okay, the economic case, the classic infrastructure industry works, but the pilot plants where there's a lot of uncertainty, that is a key area. The goal has got to be to reduce the cost difference between the things that emit and the things that don't. A difference that I term the green premium. The only way we can get the broad adoption is by driving these technologies to a level of maturity where that green premium is either very, very small, zero, or even in some cases negative, where the innovation actually takes you to a lower cost path, and we're seeing a number of those. I believe we really can prevent a climate disaster and achieve zero emissions. Now, as we do that, there's two things we should keep in mind. First, we need, for the sake of justice, to help people adjust to the planet that is already warmer. And there's a lot of warming built in. The leg in this system means that, the first cooler day is many decades from now. Our priority in this adaptation work should be those who are most effective. And the majority of those people are farmers in both sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. And, we can already see the crop loss that they're suffering and what that means to them. So they need support to have higher productivity and more resilience, both in crops and the livestock. I had a great opportunity earlier today during the Food Systems Summit, which was great to have that as part of this meeting, to announce with the UAE a $200 million partnership to fund food innovation. This includes arming farmers not only with better seeds, but also weather information, advice, really helping them with the very best practices. And of course, the agriculture sector is also a source of emissions. And so the new approaches will allow them to eliminate a substantial amount of emissions at the same time as they're pursuing their food output. We have over 160 new crop varieties coming out of the CG system. And farmers, for example, in Zimbabwe, were using these new varieties of maize, were able to generate 9 months of extra food for their family. And so, several years of productivity can give you the resilience that they deserve. The organization that's at the heart of this is the CGIAR, the CG system, which it's great that it's being highlighted here because it needs more backing to drive that R&D, and our foundation is proud to be, at this point, their largest partner. Companies have to meet the commitments they made 2 years ago in Glasgow to double the amount for adaptation. And a big part of that should be helping to achieve the CG system goal of raising $4 billion. That is the best buy in the world of climate adaptation. The second factor that we have to keep in mind is the cold hard truth that the world has quite limited resources available to reduce inequities. I believe we should devote more to helping the poorest countries, but any realistic level will force us to make tough choices about which areas get the world's attention. Just shifting from one area to the other is not enough. So climate change is a major threat to human welfare, but so are food insecurity, malnutrition, and infectious disease. And each of these is very connected to the other. For example, extreme weather is making it harder to grow crops in many parts of the world, which puts more children at risk of malnutrition and makes them more vulnerable to disease. In a world with limited resources, it may seem like we cannot make progress on climate, health, and development all at once. But nobody will be better off in a world with fewer carbon emissions if we're not solving illness, starvation, and death. So we have to make the right trade-offs to make progress on all of these at the same time. And that's where innovation comes in. By focusing it in the right way, it magnifies the impact of the resources in every one of these areas. Just as we need to innovate to get to zero emissions, we need to continue to innovate in human health. Consider the progress we've had in reducing childhood deaths. In the year 1990, 12 million children under the age of 5 died, overwhelmingly from infectious disease. By 2000, that number had dropped below 10 million, but by 2019, it was under 5 million. How do we do it? Well, a key element was applying resources against innovation and low-cost vaccines. Scientists found a way to make better vaccines and enable them to get out to almost all the world's children, including for things like rotavirus. And the world did a great job financing the purchase of those vaccines for children in low and middle income countries, and that's made a huge difference. Even a disease like cholera that we see more of because of climate change, because of these vaccines, we can limit the negative impact that has. So I'm optimistic that we can cut childhood deaths in half again, down to 2.5 million, by maintaining the high-impact health investments. And we can do that while funding climate mitigation and adaptation. Every discussion about these scarce resources should begin with the question, how can this money save and improve the most lives, now and in the future? With this question as our guide in the decades ahead, I believe we can improve human welfare broadly faster than any of us have seen in our lifetime, including avoiding a climate disaster. The work we have gathered here we're gathered here to discuss will play a huge part in getting us there. And I'm inspired by the commitments being made here. By investing in innovation that works for everyone, we won't just keep the planet livable, we will make it a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Incredible vision, incredible goals. It's my great pleasure now to introduce the next panel for some dynamic views on blended finance. Now, you don't often hear those words all put together. So there we go. We got the blended finance. Here we go. This is a long-term collective from philanthropies, from development finance institutions, from private and public sector, all poised to unlock a staggering $20 billion, propelling us forward towards that positive climate transition. So I'd like to welcome on stage, first of all, Ms. Mafalda Duarte.